Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Harakah Kodash. Double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Millstone, all well, and shalom to the whole full elect. This is Paya Allah. This is news and prophecy, prophecy and news. Update, the date today is the 4th of August 2024. And it's an update. So what I want to delve into is the current standings with the riots that's going on. All right, this all really began as has been covered previously on this channel with the events that unfolded of the three little girls getting murdered brutally in a horrible manner. All right, with many others injured. Oh, I say three little girls. There's also two grown women that were their instructors as well, defending them. They got stabbed to death, and basically what happened now is the initial reports basically have perpetuated certain identities that have really grown their own legs and led to the events that are unfolding today. But as far as the events that actually unfolded and the actual facts of the matter, that's for I want to kind of delve into that for another video because I believe them even reserving all this information and the fact that it's going to unfold at a later date maybe will allow them to utilize the information for other purposes that also feed into prophecy. All right, but I want to go down the road that we're on right now because what's been the flames that's been fueled is basically that of Muslims and Islam and people of that belief system. And it's important to even notice how it's not, even though that's technically it's race, um, riots based upon race, because you see Jake's getting attacked. You see, and Jake's attacking people as well, or should I say, defending themselves. You're seeing Elam being attacked, and they also are defending themselves. And even now, to the point where in certain towns, it's basically that's their world. So they're just setting them, they're just going out and setting upon Edomites out in the town. All right. And I will say they look more formidable, man. I see some guy do a Superman punch. They look like they've been waiting for this moment for a while. Whereas when you see, the far right extremists going out there, they look like some lager louts. Just, the unwashed masses, so to speak, of people that just woke up out of a drunken stupor and, they say, yeah, let's go and fuck up some packies, as they would say. Let's go and packy bash. Let's go and fuck up some niggas, some nignogs. That's what's basically happening right now. All right. But it it definitely is spiraling and can, if time will tell how far it goes. But with this information here, it shows you it's already, snowballed into some action as far as prophetically. All right. Because I mentioned before dealing with Tony Blair basically being an advisor to Keir Starmer, who was very he's very attentive to whatever Tony Blair had to say. Even though they said in the previous article I read that they shut down his advice of setting up a digital ID, it basically was centered around the things that are unfolding right now. So this is like when you look at it all, it's like the perfect setup. Now you think about it like this, Keir Starmer recently elected into the role of the prime minister. If this would have unfolded when you had Rishi Sunak, all right, the previous PM, this wouldn't really have the same kind of trajectory. But this is someone you just voted in, all right, because he was, the right man for the job, as you believe, because he's a so-called white Englishman, all right. And then now, in light of everything that's happened, he's he's the face of initiating these things. So it's more favorable in the sense where, it's a white British guy, and for the mass, the gen, the people of the United Kingdom, it'd feel more appropriate, and to the, I speak to it to kind of show my point. Hopefully, I made myself clear enough. It's like when you had Boris Johnson with all the bullshit he pulled during the whole pandemic. I recall like yesterday when people were asking about, should Boris Johnson resign, or how do you feel about what he did? Most of the general public didn't give a shit. They're like, it's all right, man. They didn't really care. They were one with it. So, you know, this is the funny thing with it all, because there's a form of empathy towards these individuals, but they don't realize that they don't give a flying fuck about the working man. All right. And I've had individuals say this to me, about the working man, they're being, um, not cornered, marginalized in society and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's true. But then the means, as far as how they're, changing the things that are happening, they want to go around and beat up the foreigners that are coming over here, the immigrants, or even the ones that are born here, been here 2, 3 generations, even 4 or 5. All right, and they want to pummel them in their head to feel good about themselves. When in reality, all they got to do is go up to the fucking parliament and really, pull, get active. But they're not, they're not that bright. All right, so it's going in one direction, and this is where it's at right now. All right, so I'm gonna read some of this article and get some scriptures going as well. So it says it says from the Guardian.com. The headline reads: Starmer's live facial recognition plan could usher in national ID, campaigners say. Now this is the perfect, guys, right? This is even more, another step in a way leading to the digital ID, which will ultimately lead to the MOTB, the mark, all right, the immutable mark, all right. So it says, PM accused of ignoring civil rights and apping I can never say the word, atrocities, as he proposes new powers after far-right unrest. Civil liberty campaigners have said that a proposal made by Keir Starmer on Thursday to expand the use of live facial recognition technology would amount to the effective introduction of the national ID system based on people's faces. Silky Carlo, the director of Big Brother Watch, said it was ironic the new Prime Minister was suggesting a greater use of facial matching on the same day that an EU-wide law largely banning real-time surveillance technology came into force. All right, which the UK is no longer part of the EU, or should I say, not the UK, but I believe I'd say it's England, right? I believe it is. England is no longer part of the EU. All right. I believe Scotland has a relationship with them as well as Ireland. Um, so that don't mean nothing unless they have some formal agreement. Expanding live facial recognition means millions of innocent Britons being subjected to automated ID checks, said Carlo. These are the surveillance tactics of China and Russia, and Starmer seems ignorant of the civil liberties implications. Live facial recognition has until now largely been used in the UK by the Metropolitan Police and South Wales Police as a real-time aid to help officers to detect and prevent crime, including at public events such as at last year's coronation. It is capable of scanning more than 100 faces a minute for identification, but on Thursday, Starmer suggested that it should be deployed more widely in response to the violent disorder around the country after the stabbing and murder of three girls in Southport, Lancashire. And I'm sure it was the two other women as well, but you know they need to pull on the strings of your heart by speaking, and you know, it's crazy. I'm not gonna act like it's not crazy, but I'm just saying they ain't outlining the fullness of the story. They're really focusing on that to build up a real intense amount of emotion to that event. All right, for the things that are coming down the pipe, promising to create a national police capability to tackle the rioting. So this is going to be introducing a whole new form of police force. You have the same thing over in America already, all right, with the 1033 program that's basically been galvanizing, you know, mounting up the troops within the police force to be more military ready, all right, as opposed to just being like, you know, walking the beat, doing some pat downs and some, you know, stopping the searches and stop and frisk, you call it over there, over in America, Babylon, stop and frisk and do things of that nature. But now it'll be more of a more militant, a more militant um, ordeal. All right, so that's the same thing that's over here now. That's what they're looking to implement. A wider deployment of facial recognition technology. So this will be a total Big Brother state whereby even if you even if you effectively don't sign up to uh, the digital ID, you will sign up to it. You'll be part of biometrics because why? Your face will be recognizable with all your biometrics, your height, as far as your person was foreseeable. All right, you'll pertain to you. But as far as where it's going later on down the line, that's a whole nother thing. But it shows you the steps that are being taken to get there. All right, so it says details were scant, but immediately after Starmer suggested the troublemakers could be subject to criminal behavior orders to restrict their movements, martial law in a sense, before they can even board a train, implying a wider use of live facial recognition at transport hubs such as railway stations. And that brings to mind the movie Children of Men, all right, whereby you have, but it was really centered around immigrants being all, you know, there was no places in the prisons, I assume, in the movie, but they had them all holed up, you know, held up in cages at train stations, all right. So that must have been one of those hot spots that they had to just throw up impromptu prison cells because there was just so many people trying to utilize the transport system. And even more so in that movie, when they're on the trains, they had them boarded up with like a cage because you'd have random people throwing stuff and trying to, you know, like I assume rob the train or cause, you know, unrest or whatever it is. So it says Dara Murray, a senior lecturer at Queen Mary University of London, said there is a clear danger that in responding to a tragedy and public unrest, we expand an entrenched police service without appropriate scrutiny, given the police have responded to disorder and riots for decades, why is facial recognition now needed? All right, so basically, it's just really showing you that it is being super, you know, something that's being implemented without no real thought, but problem, reaction, solution. It's the uh, perfect crisis for this to be introduced. All right. So yeah, the main thing is this being implemented. All right, just shows you that the things I mentioned in the full video is really coming into play. I got some more stuff I want to go into, all right, to build upon this, but I'll feed into. a different kind of spirit of things. So I'm like, oh, that's where it is. So I'll just go into this a little bit. So it says, why is it doing that? Hmm. Uh, I'll read this little excerpt here. So this is from independent.co.uk. I've read this a few times, but I'll bring it up one more time, man. Minister rejects Blair's ID card call 2 hours to refuse and rule it out. Alright, so let's go to this part here. I went past it. Okay, cool. So look. Alright, so yeah, this is it says the Independent revealed this weekend that Keir Starmer regularly receives texts from the former Prime Minister with advice on what he needs to do. The Labour leader discussed the messages while talking to the Independent's John Rentoul at his election count in North London just hours before he was confirmed as Britain's new Prime Minister. Sir Keir said the advice was very helpful. Now, what you have to bear in mind as well, someone like Tony Blair has been getting paid for the past couple of years since he left office, the office of Prime Minister, hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds to give speeches, and has greased certain people's palms during his tenure as the Prime Minister, which has allowed him to maneuver into good business. Right, and one of the main things as well with these politicians when they come into power is lobby things such as lobbying, people coming up, people, various different businesses and whatnot, speaking to them, funding them for their campaigns and whatnot, and having certain business deals so that they can get particular favors. All right. So this man, Blair, I'm sure if I look into some, you do some research, there'll be some form of it, some money being invested into digital ID and why he's staunchly bringing it about. But even aside from that, it's part of the agenda, all right, of the New World Order. So it says the row over ID cards has also comes as a number of ministers from the Blair and Brown eras prepare to return to government. Former Home Secretary Jackie Smith will enter the Lords as an education minister. Blah 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 blah. Um, so it says he added um, we need a plan to control immigration. If we don't have rules, we get prejudice in office, I believe, and it's perfect because this actual scenario right now actually lends itself to work against prejudice, because the reason why these systems are being implemented is to identify people with a violent prejudice towards people, right? So it serves to the benefit of immigrants. In office, I believe the best solution was a system of identity so that we now know precisely who has the right to be here, right? All right. So that's enough on that. So as you can see, this is just getting further down the road and leading more and more down to the chip. So you know all the scriptures about the chip. I want to read these two prophecies. Oh, right there actually. What am I doing? I'm gonna read straight to the point. It's Revelation 17 and 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet. Right, that's talking about the EU, the 10 economic, the Euro, which was originally known as uh, the European law. Will now commenting on this video, all right? But there, with the formerly was known. Formerly, the former name had 10 nations, which then moved into being known as the European Union as it is today. And this is what it's speaking to. All right. So it says the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. So these original countries that were part of the EU. All right. They were 10. They had power. All right. A horn denotes power. So these 10 kingdoms, these 10 kings had power like a king. All right. But they received no kingdom as of yet. Because America is the kingdom of the world. That's the beast system, right? That's the realm of where basically all of this is manifest in its totality, all right, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but they work in unison with America, okay, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Now this is why this is important, all right, because all these things that are basically happening is part of the spirit of the beast, right? This isn't, if you see this happening over here, all right, or anywhere within the European Union, you should know, you should bet your bottom dollar that it's coming over to America at some point. But these things are the spirit of things, all right? It's a spirit that's starting wherever it's starting, but it's heading to the center point of it all, America, Babylon the Great. All right, so this is Revelation 16 and 13. It says, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of the Most High Almighty. And that's ultimately what all this is doing. But these 3 unclean spirits speak to what? The 3 city states, all right, starting with the Vatican, which represents um, the mouth of the false prophet, basically being that of the religious, you know, um, figurehead of Babylon the Great. All right, and then you have um, um, then you have bloody DC, District of Columbia, America being the District of Columbia, basically being the war um, extent, the war arm of everything that's going on. It's lucky, man. I'm tired. My tiredness is kicking in. You have it being the extension of the military might of that of the Kingdom of America, of the beast system. And then ultimately you have the UK, all right, which is what the UK is, the financial capital, all right, the city state of the beast system. With all that being said, this shows you how intertwined they are all with one another. And that's why these events that are happening are showing you a blueprint. Because let's to bring it back, because it's all about America at the end of the day. These things that are happening over here serve as a preemptive showcase of what's to come to America. From the onset of this year, and I believe since the end of last year as well, you've had crazy shit happening over in America. All right, they even showed it in one TV series. I watched SWAT on Netflix. All right, and they showed that they had in one of their episodes, it was before the pandemic, funny enough, and they were showing that they had immigrants coming up from Mexico, and the people that were talking about, the caravans, the people that make money off doing it, they were like, these guys, they weren't no normal kind of, immigrants trying to get up in America. They look like they're coming to fuck shit up, like, and explode shit. Now you've had all the events happening in New York City, all of the funding that's being offered to, immigrants moving up there, even though it's really just Jake, man. Jake fulfilling prophecy as well. Should I say, the Latin tribes, Ephraim bring, the prophecy in Hosea, I believe it's in, about bringing them before um, the beast. Okay. But all of that is being done. That's ultimately going to form, snowball into this, whereby they need to keep tabs on them. Right. But this is the same effects you're seeing right here by them galvanizing. They're the same people, the far right over here, the same people that fought for Trump on the far right over there. All right, they're the same people that would have run up in the White House on January 6th. All right, it's one and the same. All right, but whenever they're doing this, they're just utilizing a different faction to ultimately bring it into play. All right, which is the main place being America, Babylon the Great. So this is that prophecy you see be formulated, leading to the mark. All right, and it's building up to that real time facial recognition, which will also lead to real time tracking, biometrics, etc., and ultimately lead to the MOTE. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Shalom, shalom, shalom.